Don't let her fool you, she's still a socialist. We're going to talk about AOC today, and I find this story both funny and charitable, which are two things that I like, so let's talk about it. But before we talk about what AOC is doing in Texas right now, while I was researching AOC and this video, this story popped up, and this came out in 2019. Speaking of socialism, did you even know that this was basically admitted? So a staffer for AOC, so AOC's chief of staff admits the Green New Deal is not about climate change, which you and I knew, but I must have missed this somehow. I didn't know one of her staffers, actually, or her chief of staff, mind you, actually came out and admitted this publicly. So before we praise AOC, let's talk about this for a second. It says, Rep. AOC's chief of staff recently admitted the true motivation behind introducing the Green New Deal is to overhaul the entire economy. Hint, hint, communism, socialism. He said that addressing climate change was not AOC's top priority in proposing the Green New Deal during a meeting with Washington Governor Jay Inslee. The interesting thing about the Green New Deal, it wasn't originally a climate thing at all, he said. Do you guys think it's a climate thing? Because we really think of it as a how do you change the entire economy thing. Wow. So, yeah, the Green New Deal proposed earlier this year by AOC, blah, 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 blah. It would also, according to its proponents, advance social, economic, racial, regional, and gender-based justice and equality and cooperative and public ownership. As told, the proposal will cost up to $93 trillion in new government spending over years. So that's the true motivation behind the Green New Deal, which again, I think you and I already knew that. But wow, I didn't know that came out. I didn't know it was a public thing. Anywho, fast forward to today. I don't even know where to start with this story, but basically AOC raised $4 million for the people that are struggling amid the disaster that's going on in Texas right now. And it's funny for a few reasons and smart for a few reasons, and of course charitable, which is the main reason you do things like this. But I want to show you a press conference that was earlier today with AOC, so watch it and then we'll talk.
Help was on the way, and now help is here because my good friend, Representative Ocasio-Cortez, sent me a little text about, well, I wanted.
And, as was mentioned earlier, disasters don't strike everyone equally. When you already have so many families in the state and across the country that are on the brink, that can't even afford an emergency to begin with.
So that was earlier today, and just a few hours ago, so that they were at, when that press conference happened, they were at $3.2 million, and she just tweeted this out, we just hit $4 million, so that much more money came out just today, or that much more money was donated just today. We just hit 4 million. Reps Sylvia Garcia, Sheila Jackson Lee, and Al Green of Houston are doing incredible work with local relief organizations to get emergency relief to Texans. Today we went to food distributions, water delivery sites, and home tours of impacted Texans, and you can see all these pictures. And they did. Here's another article about it right here. What did they do? They distributed supplies to millions of Texans lacking business necessities in the wake of record-breaking winter storm that has left at least 46 dead, you guys, in 10 states. The majority in Texas, and millions across the country without heat, water, or electricity. So last week we heard the people of Texas, they had unprecedented weather storms. 4 million people didn't have electricity. A lot of people were out of water as well. People died of just freezing to death. A lot of stores were out of food, just all kinds of things happening. She started this on Twitter. On her Twitter, she just put something out. They raised $1 million, I think, within the first 4 hours. And the reason I love this, I don't like AOC very much at all. This is really cool what she did. But But this is so funny because, you know, all of our politicians, and I'm calling out the Republicans too, they're guilty of this as well. They'll call each other out on Twitter. They get in little Twitter feuds, or they call this out, they call that out, but they don't actually do anything. And you never see them really, they talk about the people of America all the time, but you never really see them getting their hands dirty like this. So I really like that. I think she just showed all of our politicians. And the one who I think looks the worst of all, which is why I think this is a little funny, and he's my favorite senator, is Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz, in the middle of this last week, decided it was a good idea to fly to Cancun with his family, and it was pretty mixed on the reaction of this. So pictures of him at the airport came out of him flying to Cancun with his wife and his daughters. They get to Cancun. I think he sees what a storm this is, so he flies back, comes back, gives sort of a lame excuse. Oh, my daughters were cold and they're just not in school, so they wanted to go to Cancun. I was just trying to be a good dad. I was going to come back really quickly anyway, and he apologized and he came back, so good for him. That's better than what some politicians do. And a lot of people were outraged over it, and a lot of people were defending him. I was sort of in the middle. I was like, I'm not like really mad at him. I think Ted Cruz is actually one of the better politicians and one of the least out of touch than the other ones. But I agreed that it was really bad optics and it didn't make him look good at all. And I wouldn't have done that if I were him. And I don't think he should have gone, but I wasn't outraged, not like Nancy Pelosi or, you know, going to the hair salon or Gavin Newsom being out at dinner, or even worse than what's going on with Cuomo. And I did think some of it was a distraction from what was going on with Cuomo. I think that's why the news ran with the Ted Cruz or the Ted Cancun story for as long as they did. But at least, and you know, AOC called him out online. And the funny thing about AOC and Ted Cruz is they have a long history of just feuding with each other and getting in spats. And AOC said that he tried to murder her or whatever. And but I love that she called him out, but she also did something and she made him look bad. She didn't have to call him names online. She did something to help people, which they desperately need. She raised money. She flew to Texas, got her hands dirty. And for all those people that were defending Ted Cruz, saying, and this was the defense of Ted Cruz, this is why this is so funny, and I wasn't even that mad at him. I just think it was a dumb thing to do. Their defense was, well, what was he going to do anyway? He's just a senator. He's not, what was he going to do? What was he going to do? Well, whoops. Hope other politicians take note of what she's doing. I think that was creative. One thing you do have to give her credit for, I still think she's just, I like none of her ideas ever. But one thing you have to give her credit for is she's really good at grassroots stuff and getting people involved in media attention. So go her. And she also did say this week that she wanted an investigation on Cuomo. So I also support that. Anywho, let me know what you guys think about everything, and I'll see you later. Bye.